Hello, welcome to the Sovereign Magazine show, a transformational experience where conscious conversations meet embodied wisdom. Each episode invites visionary healers, thought leaders, and change makers to share their journeys of awakenings, offering listeners practical tools and soul stirring insights to reclaim their inner authority. Today, we have the absolutely incredible Efrat Shokef back today. She is somebody who walks the earth knowing that everything is possible if we follow our intuition and say yes to the invitations the universe, sorry, I'm tripping up on my words this morning. The universe has so graciously given to us. She is an award-winning author of two amazing books, which we will have in the show notes for you today. The Soul Promises We Made and the Universal Promises. And also, she is here to help guide parents in their parenting journey and essence of becoming the best versions of themselves for their children as they grow up as humans. And what we are continuing on our journey today for her, the Spiritually Aware Parenting series, is anchoring to earth, grounding as a key to our ability to soar. And so, Efrat, why don't you share a little bit more about this subject and what we're going to be talking about today?
Hi, Nicole. So happy to be here. Um, why are we talking about anchoring to earth on a spiritual high frequency show? So many of us, parents walking a spiritual path, exploring our frequency, our vibrational frequency, meditating, using various practices to grow. Definitely in my communities of shamanic healing and working with children, parents. Um, we want to soar. We're excited about near-death experiences, spiritually transformative experiences, out-of-body experiences, all those experiences that take us out of ourselves and remind us of the more that we are. And these are all really, indeed, really exciting. but, but we did not come here for a journey of exploring what happens in the afterlife, in my perception. Exploring what happened in the afterlife, having a near-death experience like I have, is an amazing reminder of what we came to do here on earth, in form, within a physical body, grounded to Mother Earth, to its ground. And I find it especially important when we're talking about raising children, because children have an innate ability to soar. When almost all of the children that in teens, twins and teens, that I get to talk to, or that their parents talk to with, because I often guide parents and then they have the conversation with their children. It's so much better than directly. When we talk about shamanic journey, when we talk about guided meditations that are going to imaginary spaces, the kids like look at us and say, yeah, I do this anyway. I've been doing this forever. I've always done this. Or it's an innate ability. They're born with it. They have an ability to expand their energetics and connect to those spaces they come from. It is us adults that have narrowed our minds, cultivated fear from what we don't know and can't explain. And as we understand that children soar in as a natural way of connecting to who they are, the question is not about expanding and helping them soar more. The question is, how do we help them ground? A lot of parents complain that their kids are floaty and unable to concentrate. And before we look at the spiritual reasons, maybe a reminder that we need to first look at the very human reasons. If a child is in school in a crowded, noisy environment all day long, then what they want to do is escape reality for a moment and leave their body or expand and go into imaginary healing spaces. So that we have a lot of reasons within our human world that actually push us out. But we want to ask, how do we bring in? We bring in by intentionally creating those moments of leaving. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So it's that children who are very floaty, who escape the reality, who are unable to listen to uh, now you need to go to take a shower because it's evening and can't hear us, and there are all kinds of such situations that parents deal with. Need to first explore what's happening during the day. Why is it hard for their kids to be embodied and stay grounded, but then also cultivate, in my experience at least, those intentional practices of now we are intentionally going out. Because when a child gets nourished in those places that they call home, other dimensions, which are really, really, really beautiful, then it's easy for them to come back when they need to because they have received their daily, sometimes hourly nutrition of who they are, the more that they are. And we're more. This is a really bounded body. But if we want to ground, if we want to be present, and we are here to be present, this is an important understanding. I've said this before, and I'll say it probably again within this conversation. If we are to be present, then we need to also be able to nourish our energetic, to travel to other dimensions, and to be able so that we can stay aligned and stay aligned to both the spiritual aspects of ourselves and the grounded matter of ourselves, being a human spiritual human on a journey, and not just human in form and not just spiritual.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was having so many things go through my head
Well, it's
while
good I stopped for a minute.
um sorry for everyone who's not used to me. We were just recording a podcast, so I'm in the podcast studio with all of my mic and earphones and stuff. And I was like, just keep it on. Don't mind me. Um, so one of the things that I was thinking about was now my ability as a parent, my daughter's 14 and a half, to allow her to navigate her life in the way that feels good to her, right? And not dictate taking the shower. And how many times I had to cringe when she didn't want to shower and things like this, right? However, I have been able to watch through my lack of micromanaging her life and imprinting my belief systems on her, or societal systems, if you will. I have been able to watch her naturally come into that, let's say, expectation that we have. Let's just take showering, right? Uh, on her own. And it has become this innate gift for her to trust her own body. So if we take showering, for example, now she showers when it feels so aligned to her, which is very often. Whereas, let's say a couple years ago, it wasn't. It was this thing that she just didn't want to do. And, my husband would always kind of say in a shaming way, it's going to take that kid at school that tells you you smell to make you shower, right? But I just did not want to force upon her my belief systems. Now there can't comes a point when cleanliness and all of that comes in and you just got to do the thing, right? However, I always lead with the intention of things coming from innately within her. So if she comes to talk to me about something, I will always say, well, what do you intuitively think? Instead of just sharing my opinion, I'll say, what's your body telling you? Or do you have any insight on this? Or whatever the thing is, right? And so as we go through this journey, I wonder how we can help people feel grounded because we're talking a lot about grounding. How can we help people feel grounded in a more let's call it floaty, if you will, floaty type of parenting style that allows more intuitive guidance from both sides, from the child side and the parenting side, because I feel what happens is we're so scattered and overwhelmed, we just rattle off things to get that thing done versus being present in the moment and being able to actually respond versus react. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making a lot of sense, and a few thoughts. I'm returning to something we talked in the podcast earlier about the why. Why am I here? Why is my child here? Why did my child choose me and not another parent? And if we are in a process of allowing freedom, parenting intuitively in an overwhelming world, we need to go back to that question of why, because part of our role as parents in this agreement of and the shared journey with our children is about teaching them how to be a human. Today's modern world, a human is expected to be clean, have their hair brushed, but does a 12-year-old female human necessarily need to put makeup on and perfume on? That's already something to question. So I think it's very family specific and in that interaction. But there's something else you mentioned and is crucially important. If we're talking about grounding. Grounding is being present within our physical, that our energy, whatever it is, it's not here, it's not there, it's here, surrounding our physical, going beneath our feet, present. And to be present and to be able to be aware whether we're present or not, a child also needs to learn, how does this body feel? What are the needs of this body? How do I take care of this body? And we've talked before about needing to take care both of our physical body and our energetic field. It's the same thing. But yeah, it's both that physical senses and that energetic feel. I don't think we need to distinguish them. It's one thing, it's our body. But but for the matter of the conversation, for many families and parents, it is the physical body and the energetic body, although we need to cleanse them. We need to know when it's talking to us and telling us, you need to slow down today. You need to pay attention to this part or that part and see a doctor. You need to check what's going on. You need to eat differently because of how it makes you feel. You need to shower because you want to keep hygiene and stay cleansed and be able to communicate with others as well. There are all kinds of anchors that are part of being a human. But that's where a conflict, not really a conflict, but a conflict is, we want to be human. We want to embody our human body. We don't want to contract it. We don't want to narrow it. We want to stay able to be present in our physical body when we need to be focused, driving, for example, paying attention to what the teacher says in the classroom, assuming what she's saying is important. But if it's not important and she's blabbering, or you already know the material, to be able to just fly away and be the more that you are, go to other dimensions. Let your imagination flow. Imagination is so much more than just the fruits of our mind. It's much beyond that. It's our doorway to who we are. So that balancing, and again, one child is really anchored to their body. We need to help them expand and remember the more that they are, if this is something they need in their journey. Something that sometimes the most spiritual thing is about being really anchored, being really physical. And sometimes we need to help those who, I use the word floaty because that's a word a lot of parents use, A child is floaty, is daydreaming all day. We need to ask, why are they escaping their human reality? And those explanations can come from what we talked before about those challenges in human world is so challenging at the moment. And children, especially those in the system, are faced with so much confusion and noise. It's overwhelming. The healthy bit, it's healthy to escape. It's healthy to go into daydreaming, disconnect from what's going on. It nourishes the soul. It allows the soul to rest before it needs to deal with other pieces. There is another explanation, which I observe mainly with really little ones. They had no idea what they're coming for. It's their first time in a human body. They had no idea how difficult those first years are going to be. They thought they're coming to serve, to be on a mission, to help Earth, to raise a frequency. You first need to learn how to function that machine, that vessel that carries you while you're here. And there is such a huge gap between their frequency, vibrational frequency, and the abilities of this human body, that it's overwhelming for them. And the result is that they're not here, they're not present. And helping them embody is a whole different story compared to the other reasons we just talked about.
Mm. I want to bring in a part from your book because it's reminding me
Sure.
of it. And that's what's intuitively coming to me right now. So I am in the middle of reading The Promises We Made. And there was this point that you talk about after your near death experience. I'm going to kind of conflate two parts of it, but for a purpose, and you'll
I'm
you'll
flying with you. Yeah.
you'll understand why. But there was this part. One part was you were in the hospital and you would go back to the place where there was no pain, and we'll just call it the other side for right now. I forget what you call it in the book. And then you would come back to earth and you would feel all the pain. And you would wish you could go back there because it was just, it felt so different, but then you knew you had to be here too. And then there was this part in your book when you're with your daughter. I think it was I think it was the twin. Was it the twins or your singleton when you were in that group circle and she was looking at you and she wanted you to comfort her? Was it just one of your
The
daughters?
twins,
It
one
was
of
the
the
twins,
twins.
one of the twins. Okay. And there was this moment where you had to overcome the amount of pain you were in order to feel that connection with your daughter. And I liken those two moments because there is this connection to another realm that I think we dismiss. And I would love to hear from your perspective because we're talking about being floaty. This is where it's all coming back around. So I would love to hear from your perspective and from your near death experience and that moment with your daughter, how sometimes when we need that other realm to help us here in this world and how it all connects together. And so there's this knowledge, if you will, that we gain from the other realms to help us in this physical body. Do you see where I'm going with this? Sorry, it's a very convoluted way to say that other realms help us learn to be a different person in this moment. And what I'm learning through your book is you had to choose to be a different mom than you were before your accident. And in that realm of less pain and all of that was where you had to realize that you could no longer be the mom that you were before your accident, right?
Yeah, wow. It
You
feels
say it
like
in your
so
own
many
words.
pieces.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
it. I'm not
I'll say
saying,
it in
yeah,
my own words because there
say
are
it
a
in
lot
your
of
own words.
pieces here.
Yes.
Um, in the first months, I was unable to do any of the care. So And indeed, I was frequently just going back to those realms of love, floating in calmness, in peace, in energies of acceptance, of purity, those places that remind us of who we are, and the more that we are. I wanted to be my daughter's mom. But before my car crash, my motherhood was defined by doing, very anchored, very grounded, present. A mom, I had three little ones, all of them less than 4 when the car crash took place. The twins were 13 months old when it happened. I think I was looking for a definition, something that would define me, but I could not find that definition in what was anchored. It was no longer who I was. And in many ways, I was more afraid of not exploring the doors that opened, because I realized that if I won't explore them, it wasn't a mental realization or word or something I could put in words at that time. But if I won't explore what had happened and those doors that opened for me, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be who my daughters chose me for. I would have another car crash. No, thank you. I'm very grateful for the one I had, but I wasn't looking for any additional dramatic events to remember. That situation that you tapped into, I did not feel I was needed. It's like I was sitting on the couch. I was there. I was trying to be present, but realizing that, or feeling that my presence doesn't matter in any way or sort. And then that situation's friends came over, 2 other moms with their babies. So we had 4 babies, 3 moms, and our nanny that was standing in the kitchen. We lived in a very small space at that time. She was very close, but she gave me space. Like, it's like I was sitting on the sofa, everybody, my usual space at that time, and they were all on the floor. And then one of the girls hit one of my twins, and she looked at me, she looked at the nanny, she looked at the other moms. It was like a few seconds of this really huge confusion. Nobody knew what to do. Do the other moms reach out to her? Does the nanny need to come? But I'm her mom, but I'm not her mom, but I am her mom, but I'm not her mom. Like, what's going on? It was like this really huge confusion. And then I just leaned forward and I pulled her up to me. And one of the moms like pushed her a little, helped me out. And the situation ended and everybody was calm. Everybody returned. I remember it was like everyone returned to breathing. And she came down. It wasn't, a big event, but it was a confusing event. But for me, it flipped something, because maybe I wasn't doing any of those things that everybody else does. And I'm not taking care of my daughters the way I used to take care of them. And I'm not nursing, which stopped the day of the car crash. And I'm not feeding them. And I'm not taking baths. I'm not even reading stories or cuddling them, because I had so many physical issues but I was sitting in that pain and I was holding on to her and I was hugging her. And nobody could replace me. Nobody could replace me. That was that moment. But if nobody can replace me and I'm still unable to do any of those things, or maybe it's a huge effort for me and others can do it so much easily. And I had the best of help. I had my husband and my parents and my mother-in-law in times, and my brother-in-law and my brothers, like the people that were helping out and that were active, and a lot of good friends in the community. It was all really loving people, amazing people that I do trust my daughters with today as well. And but I was needed for some reason, and that made the connection So what can I bring down from those experiences, from those realms, those understanding of what makes a connection? And that the essence is more important. And then the question, why did they choose me? They chose me because they trusted that after the car crash and the near death experience, I would be able to guide them on how to be energetic beings within a human body. I would be able to encourage them to go on shamanic journeying, and I would cultivate that. We have this shamanic mom daughters circle, which is all around my wish to share this tool with them, and an understanding that if we have a community of other friends who are doing this with us, it will be so much less awkward, and more, and it became something natural of who we are and who our closest friends know us to be and communicate with us. And they have friends who communicate the same way they do, have their power animals connected to, reach out. So if they need to consult one another, they can talk. Oh, so did you ask your power animal? Like before you consult anybody else, did you ask your higher guidance? It's a language, it's community. But all of this could happen because only as I embrace those doors that opened. But I want to add something else, which is to our topic here. I left my body in my near-death experience. I had a lot of out-of-body experiences following that during my hospital stay. I had another more spiritual transformative experience happen as I grew. But I also needed to explore that question of why is it so hard for me to be in my body? I had to learn to embody. And before you embody or without embodying your physical, you can't manifest. People talk about manifestation, which is a really beautiful topic. You can manifest when you're here. If you're out there, you're out there. And we'll be back out there because when our lifetime ends, to my experience, this is where we go. This is the type of beings that I saw. I saw people in my near-death experience float forward, embraced. They went home. They finished this journey in lifetime. I needed to come back. So I'm back. I'm here. I'm trying to do the best, and the best and out of it for myself, for my family, and in serving others with my story. But it is about being here. So if we have a child who is not able to embody their physical, then we need to ask why. Possibly, as always in our conversations, start with, are you embodied in your own physical? And find those ways to be embodied, and then your child can find it easier to embody as well. And these processes go through a lot of healing. My near-death experience was not an initiation like a lot of people describe. Mine was an invitation to choose to be here, to choose to embody. I could have just stayed a disabled woman who is unable, but I'm not. I'm not, because I embodied the invitation that was given. And this is something everyone can do. I'm not unique with this. I see it happening daily in my work with others, in amazing people that I walk with, in an amazing woman I'm talking to right now. It's possible, but it is a matter of changing our mindset, understanding we're both spiritual and human, and then doing the work and the healing and taking responsibility for what we can to show up. And as we show up, we make the process of showing up and walking the soul's journey of our children so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope I managed to tap into what you needed.
You said it so much more beautifully than I did. I have a very hard time like consolidating my crazy thoughts into one question. So you answered it beautifully.
Yeah.
I also want to leave our listeners and watchers today with the excitement of our next show, which is going to be the seventh show, and it's called The Challenge, Longing to Belong. And I think once we really tap into this embodiment, we can then tap into the concept of belonging. And so
Yes.
if you're enjoying these, definitely like, share, subscribe so that you can get the next episode. All of Efrat's details, including her books, will be in the show notes. And she is one of our columnists. So if you're not listening to our podcast, you can listen over there. She is amazing. And you can read our magazine. It's free as well. She's in our community. If you want to talk to her there as well, that's free as well. So community.sovereign-magazine.com. Thank you for being here again, and we will see you on the next one.